Hey everyone, this is Martin from howtomakemobilegames.com on January the 21st, 2019, here in Manchester, England. Happy New Year to everybody, as it has been a while since I've posted on this channel and done any kind of video at all. The How to Make Mobile Games forum has sort of kind of gone down recently, and the business that I'm working on in terms of having mobile games out on the iPhone App Store and Google Play Store has kind of dropped off this past year and isn't making much revenue. And so the reason why I've not done a lot of videos is basically because I don't have much to teach anymore in that area. I think the market is kind of overly saturated and is pretty much dead. So I'm looking into other areas of business, and I'm also working as a full-time Unity developer. But in this video I wanted to talk about something different that's kind of close to my heart, and it's not about game development or marketing or anything like that. So my apologies if you're tuning in and listening to this video expecting like game related stuff, but I guess the title clearly shows when I come up with it that it's not related to that. But what it is related to is an audio book that I've been listening to, or a book that I've been listening to recently, called The Power of Now, by a guy called Eckhart Tolle, and this was recommended to me by a friend, and it's something that I've thought a lot about recently, and I'm actually listening through my second time now. It's about 7 hours long, and I've just listened to it in the car or when I've been to the gym, and it really struck home with me the kind of the message in that book and what he's saying, and a lot of it was something that I just agreed with. Some of it I didn't agree with all of the points he was making, but the main point is what I agreed with. And the kind of main point that he illustrates in the book is that our mind focuses constantly on something that is not the here and now. We constantly focus on the things that are in the future or in the past to make us happy. We don't like where we are right here and now. We always need to be somewhere else. We always need the next thing. We always need the next hit of pleasure, as opposed to thinking more about our own internal joy in the moment. And the technique that he advises kind of over and over again in sort of a questions and answer format in the book is to focus on the inner body. Focus on the stomach, the abdomen, the neck, the head, whatever it may be. Focus on your emotions at this moment. Focus on the tingling in your fingers, or bring 100% attention to those moments which are that you might be mind wandering at someplace else whilst you're doing them, like washing your hands or walking up the stairs or something. Bring 100% attention to that moment. And the entire idea around it is that it silences the mind and stops you thinking about things that are not here and now. It basically just brings focus to, say, your chest, for example. And without any kind of judgment, without any thinking, without any internal chatter, you just focus on your chest, and the mind slips away. And so I've been trying to do this now for a few weeks since I've read this book. There's been like some things that happened recently which have kind of pushed me to focus more on my internal self, because when I say I really agree with his message in the book, is basically because, for example, in my life, I always have had this sort of unease about myself, not in terms of like feeling scared or angry or just like an ongoing not very pleased with life. I'm always thinking about the thing in the future that is going to make me happy. There's always something else. There's always some other place that I want to be, whether it's on holiday or whether it's doing something else. And then when I get to that place or do that other thing, it's not as good as I would hoped it had been, and then eventually the feeling dies down. It's kind of got that dose effect where it's not as good as the first time you did it. You go to the beautiful beach in the Maldives or whatever, and it's amazing. But then the feeling, the intensity of that feeling dies, and then you're on to the next bit of pleasure that you're seeking. There's no internal joy. It might be something like, you'd rather be in a bar or whatever it may be. There's always something in my life that that I'd rather be doing. Nothing's ever perfect. Nothing is ever here and now. Nothing is ever okay. Just focusing on this moment and just total acceptance and surrender to the moment. And so his message really, really stood out for me. And it is a case of practicing the technique, practicing meditation, practicing working on that side of my mind. And the other point that he brings up in the book is that the mind and the self are two separate things. The issue that we have as a race, as a species, is that we identify ourselves through the mind. We think, therefore we are. That fame, I can't remember who said that, but I think therefore I am. The problem is with that, as he points out in the book, is that it gives mind identification. It says, well, I am my mind. Where, if you kind of consider that, then we don't really have control, because my mind doesn't do what I want it to. There's like two parts of my mind, the subconscious and the thinking mind, and it doesn't do what I want. I might feel angry or sad or depressed or whatever it may be at times, and I don't want that. Yet I can't control that part of my mind. It's almost like there's another me, somebody else in my head who's telling me things. The other thing that I really, really thought a lot about was the point that he made about not being able to stop the incessant chat of your mind, constantly talking to yourself all the time, constantly thinking about the next. Excuse me, I'm a little bit sick, so if I sound groggy, that is why. Always thinking about the next thing, or this conversation that you had, or this made up scenario in your head, whether it's a good scenario or bad scenario for you. You can never find the off switch for your brain. I find that when I'm doing meditation and I'm quite calm, my brain, my mind is not chattering very much. I seem to be quite silent, and there's moments where it feels really like there's no time. It feels like the moment's kind of stood still. There is no chatter, there is no mind. It's just a sensation, and almost a non-sensation, almost like there's nothing there. I think I've heard, I think in Indian culture, or Deepak Chopra called it normal steady. I don't know the exact word, but it's the state of no mind, no thinking. And it was really interesting that, because I've done meditation for a few years now, and to be honest, I don't know if it's had much of an effect on me. It does calm me at times, but it only calms me when I'm actually doing it. I don't know if it's had like a lasting effects that has happened outside of that meditation time. It's always been during meditation I've calmed down, and I've always tried to race to get, because I say I'm a little bit stressed today, whatever, and I want to get home and I want to meditate and calm myself. It's never been outside of that moment that I've felt calm as well. I always have to meditate, but I want to get to the point where I can just, when I start to feel that moment of calmness in all parts of my life, and not focus on the future or the past, things that I want, things that I don't want. I have to surrender to the current situation, whatever it may be, good or bad. Just surrender to it. The other thing that I've thinking a lot about recently, and partly because of the book and partly because of other things, is having that self-control, that self-reliance in my life, where I don't need somebody or something else, whatever that thing or person may be. Not needing that thing in my life. I think one of these Indian gurus, I can't remember, I think his name's Sadhguru, he put it very well, and I'm sort of like semi-quoting what he said, but he was making the point of, you're always on to the next thing. You're always trying to reach for that next thing, and then you have your happiness is in somebody else's hands or something, or your happiness is dependent on something else or someone else. And it reminds me of a friend of mine. I used to like. I talked about years ago, like not on the channel, but it just reminded me of this person where they would be wanting to get married, and their happiness, they were never happy because they weren't married. They were always, when I get married, that's what will make me happy, you know. And it was a very Chinese thing because I was in China, as a lot of you know. She was always, I need to get married, I need to do this. Once I get that thing, once I get that marriage, then I'll be happy, you know? Then I'll be happy. And I always thought about that because I always thought, well, you're always going to be dependent on somebody else. You're always going to be dependent on that person. What if that person never shows up? What if you never like somebody enough to get married? Or what if you do get married and then it doesn't turn out the way you expect it to be, which is often the case when it comes to marriage most of the time. Don't be under any delusion, guys, that, you know, and girls, if you're listening, that marriage is the, you know, the be all and end all to happiness, or a relationship. And it's interesting sometimes when I hear, like, say, the TV show or movie or whatever it may be, and they'll say, you know, oh, you need to find somebody else to make you happy. You know, you need to go and get out and get somebody else to make you happy when they're breaking up or whatever, the couple's breaking up. And I always think, well, is that the be all and end all of happiness? Is that it? Is that seriously it? We can only be happy if we've got somebody else. If that other person is there to give us happiness, we are a slave to that situation. I mean, really an emotional slave to that situation. I've really thought a lot about this recently. And you know, thinking hasn't solved it. It's going to be a case of ongoing practice and meditation and self-reflection, introspection, is that, if that's the word. You know, or it might be you identify with your job or your career, like I do. I'm very proud of my career, my job, that I'm where I'm at the moment. Now, what if that was taken away from me? What if all of a sudden I couldn't work? You know, God forbid something bad happens and I can't work. What does that mean? Does that mean I'm no longer happy? I'm no longer happy. I have no job. I have no career. Or what if I can't get a house or something like that? You know, I'm like almost 38 now, and I'm in the process of trying to get a house. What if I can't get a house? Does that mean that's it? And when we talk about each other as well, when we grade each other, we grade each other materialistically. We grade each other on how much we earn. Oh, he's got a house, he's got a car, he's got 2 kids, and all of the external things in our lives which define us. But I mean, there's so many people out there who have these things but are not happy, not joyful, and that's one of the points that Sadhguru was making, and also Eckhart Tolle in The Power of Now, about being internally joyful, whether you're just stood at a bus stop, whether your life situation is bad, whether you're in the middle of something that you're not enjoying, bad relationship, whatever it may be. Feeling joyous in yourself and totally surrendering to the situation. And one of the keys, as I mentioned before, is just being able to close your mind off and shut it down, flick the off switch. It's made me realize through listening to this and thinking a lot about it, is it's always the mind. It's always the mind. I can feel myself now more often going to bad places in my mind, and then I'll be like, wait a minute, hold on. The reason I'm feeling bad right now is just because I let my mind sort of follow this trail of bad feelings, bad thoughts. I started thinking about this bad thing, and now I feel bad. It's like the mind is the culprit, and it's almost like it's separate from me. My mind is this wonderful tool, this amazing tool that allows me to survive in this world that we live in, and apply myself and survive, and so on. But it's also a double-edged blade. You've got to be careful, because if the mind runs loose, it will destroy you, and it can destroy you in terms of your happiness, in terms of your joy. It's always my mind is the culprit. My mind. If you take a look at a situation where you feel very bad, something that you've seen or heard or done or whatever has been done to you, and you feel very bad. Yet the person next to you might think, well, no, I don't care, it doesn't matter, and that it's just simply the mind, the way that the mind reacts to the situation, the way that it thinks about that, and being able to turn off the mind and only apply it in the necessary practical situations is key. Not letting it run rampant with emotions. I mean, how many of you out there have had negative conversations with yourself or arguments in your mind with another person, and then you've had a bad temper afterwards? In an entirely hypothetical situation, which has never ever happened, probably will never happen, but it's affected you, and it affects your emotions and your life and your actions and everything about you. That has probably happened to everybody, and it happens to me, and I need to recently I've started to catch myself talking about these things that might be negative, and I'd be like, wait, hold on, stop, what the fuck am I doing? Just stop right there. Being more aware of how you feel, how you think. It's a long journey, and I highly recommend checking out the book, guys. It's a really good listen or a good read. I got mine from I downloaded mine from iTunes. That's where I got it, because I wanted the audiobook. I think it's probably on Audible as well. It's also on Amazon. I think I might have an affiliate link for it. So if you do go on Amazon, please click the link in the description. That just helps me out, and I do get a referral for that. If a full disclaimer. But I highly recommend it. I'm listening to it a second time now, and I need to practice more meditation. Do I need to do more time meditating? Do I need to practice more meditation? Do I need to learn how to sit there for 3-4 hours? Yeah, maybe 8 hours a day, maybe, who knows? I want to get to the point where I don't need anything or anyone external to me to make me happy. Now, that doesn't mean that I reject people in my life or situations. Absolutely not. No, and he makes this point as well. It's not about rejecting the world around you, or letting go of family or friends. No, of course not. Or your career or your aspirations or your goals. It's basically about having the mental control to feel joy in your life, whether those things are there or not. That's the main thing. It takes away the kind of emotional reactive part of the mind and focuses more on the feeling moment instead, which I think is something I need to improve, and I want to get there. I need to constantly be in the now. I need to bring my attention to, say, my chest or my head or my abdomen, or the moment, or the tingling in my fingers, or the way that my body feels when I'm sat in the chair, the weight of my body, something that brings me in the now and takes me out of that thinking mind that I can't seem to turn off most of the time. One of the things I might develop is a small application to sort of, I was thinking about this the other day, a small application that sends a vibrate notification every 5 minutes to my phone, internal notification, and in my pocket when it's there, I just feel this very slight vibrate, just for a moment, every 5 minutes. And what that does is a constant reminder to bring my awareness to the now, my stomach, my body, my head, my fingers, whatever it may be, anything that brings me into the now. Even if it's now is feeling bad, like I feel sick right now, and I was meditating before, and I feel sick, I have a fever, but that's okay. It brings me to the now, because the now has no emotional content. It has no, the feeling body has no judgment. That's the point that he was making as well. There's no judgment in that space. But it's the reason I wanted to talk on this video, guys, is because I wanted to see if there's anybody else out there who feels the same way, who understands what I'm talking about. And I know there are, of course there definitely is. It's just, it's a nice way to connect with people who have a similar interest in having the mental power to feel our own joy within our lives without needing external things. And I would love to get to that place. I would love to be happy no matter what happens. I'm so jealous of people who seem joyous, people who smile a lot, people who, no matter what, they just seem happy. And I'm always thinking, how are you so happy? Like, not that they have a bad life, not that I'm judging it, but it's because, I'm talking about people that are in a similar lifestyle to me. They're not beggars and things. I'm talking about people who I might have met, and I'm thinking, wow, you seem so happy. How are you so happy? I'm so jealous. I'm so jealous. You seem to just be smiling and calm all the time. Like, the smallest things seem to just give you joy, and I'm so jealous of that, because I think, especially in the business world, we put so much pressure on ourselves, and I've spoken about this a lot in my previous videos about pressure as an entrepreneur, or pressure in business, career, and so on. I've managed to calm down on that recently, which has been great. I've been so happy to be in my current situation, but there's still times when I will get upset and depressed and down, and I could say, well, it's the weather. I would love to be in the situation of I'd love to be in what I would have called a bad situation before and still feel joyous now. One of the other quotes or sentences that I remember in The Power of Now was when he was talking, he was saying, you can just be at a bus stop or waiting for a friend to pick you up or something and be completely calm, be in a traffic jam and just be completely focused on the now, focused on your internal sensations, on your body, ever present, not judging, not talking, not talking to yourself internally, not having that internal mental chatter, and just being completely calm. And then somebody comes along and said, oh, sorry I'm late. It's okay, I was just enjoying myself. I remember that quote. It kind of stood out to me. Or I'm oblivion. Is that the word? Not oblivion. Anyway, the quote was something like that. I'm going through it again though, and I want to continue to learn more and really begin to improve my mind, because at the end of the day, it's the most important thing, is it not? It's your mind is the cause of your happiness or your sadness, not the symptom. You're not treating the symptom. You feel sad, okay, you go out and drink, you smoke, you have drugs, you have sex, whatever it may be. And then what happens the next day? Well, you're right back. You're right back to it, aren't you? You completely, oh, now I need my next hit. Okay, I've had my high, now I have the low. I've gotten a little bit drunk and merry and I'm happy, but now I've got the come down. I've been on the holiday, but now I have the holiday blues. All forms of addiction start with pleasure, start with pain, and end with pain. Whatever that addiction may be, whether it's caffeine or sugar or a person or a situation, a holiday, whatever. It's an ongoing cycle, and I think as I've thought about that more, it's made me want to get out of that situation, get my head out of that situation, not going for the next hit of pleasure. The difference between pleasure and joy is one of the things that he illustrates, and so does Sadhguru. He illustrates that very well in the few videos that I've watched of him. But I wanted to make this video and talk about it a little and just see what you guys think. I just want to talk and catch up, because it has been a long time, and I've not caught up with you guys in a while, especially not on something which I really feel, which is close to my heart. Like this is, I'm trying to meditate more. I have to be more vigilant with myself to do that, to practice more. And it's like the gym. You've got to be strict with yourself. It's not easy at first. Starting something new, a practice like that never is. There's always that inertia to get going in the beginning, but I've got to be strict. I've got to stick to it. I've got to continue to meditate, focus on the now. I might create that, like I say, that small notification app. There might already be one in the App Store, I don't know, but just something to constantly bring me back to the moment, because I find that my mind wanders, when it's not supposed to be. Obviously, when I'm doing things like work or a task, That's when the mind is a great tool. When I'm focused on the moment, when I'm watching a movie, when I'm focused on coding, which I really enjoy, or the challenge of coding, which I really enjoy, then there is my mind is not judging. I'm not unhappy so much. I'm focused. I'm enjoying the challenge. It's good. But then in the idle moments when I'm driving or just sitting around or in the kitchen making some food, whatever, my mind starts to wander and it's often onto a negative thing. And I think it's about time that I started to train myself more in that area and kind of made my how can I put this? I was going to say make my mind work for me, but the point is not to make my mind work. Is to make my mind not work. To turn the mind off is what I'm trying to achieve. To switch off that inner chatter, that emotional content. That part of me that is always thinking about the worst things that can happen, and then worrying, and then keeping myself in a bad situation or whatever it may be. Because of that constant worry, as opposed to going with the moment, or maybe just feeling joy within the moment. So, but yeah, guys, it would be awesome to just know what you think, and I do highly recommend that book. I'm gonna possibly keep on reading more books. I'm reading one at the moment about brahmacharya, which is quite interesting. Brahmacharya is the Indian practice of not of it means to walk with God. And one of the elements of that is celibacy. Now, if you've got a girlfriend or wife, that doesn't mean you have to be celibate, as in not having sex. It's bringing the mind to focus so that you don't think about that. You basically turn off, you abstain from those thoughts, because that is obviously, for many men, is an area of kind of contention in their minds. I think a lot of guys will understand that. If you're just trying to be calm, but you can't get, booty off the brain, whatever, just as a thought. I think all men can understand that. So that's a very interesting area that I'm also looking into, the brahmacharya study. I know very little about that right now. I'm a total layman. It was just when I was looking on YouTube and kind of doing some research, and Sadhguru had mentioned, what is brahmacharya? How do you study it? And so that's something I might talk about in a separate video. If you guys find this interesting, yes or no. I know this is not what you subscribe for at all, but I consider a lot of you to be my kind of friends at a distance, and I do like to connect with you in this way. And it's really nice just to discuss things that with people that have an interest in a similar topic. So, guys, I'm going to leave it there, but thank you for listening. Hopefully more coming soon. Please comment below. Like I said, if you are interested in the book on Amazon, I'll put a link in the description. It is an affiliate link, just full disclosure. But I highly recommend the book. Even if you don't go through the link, just go to Amazon.com. I highly recommend you check it out, or Audible or iTunes was where I got it. So everyone out there, have an awesome week doing what you're doing. If it's developing, have a great week, and I will chat to you hopefully very soon. Bye-bye.